Welcome to The Watching Dead, the officially unofficial podcast for The Walking Dead on AMC. I'm Jim.
I'm Aaron.
And today we're talking about Season 8, Episode 14, titled Still Gotta Mean Something. It does. Even when you're writing a show like The Walking Dead, the script's still gotta mean something.
Yeah. What if they don't?
You know, I didn't actually hate this episode.
Me either.
It's a problem because the rest of the season has been such shit that I don't want to give it any acclaim, but it was a fine episode.
Yeah, it doesn't cost
there was
us
nothing
anything
wrong with this
to
one.
acknowledge that. And, you know, it would actually be a good episode had we not ridden the same ride 5 times again. Like, for example, I kind of really like some of the stuff they did with Morgan and him, like, articulating some of his deal. And I really liked what, like, Carol said, you know. I think that's an important point that, like, you know, it's kind of like an analogy for depression or any other, like, emotional time you go through. It's like, it sucks when you go through it, but if you've gone through it and you survived, then you know that you're capable of doing it. It's like, you know, maybe it will never happen to you again, but if it does, you're capable of finding your way out again.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. It's just that, like, some of this stuff I've seen 3, 4, 5, 6 times before, and, like, it's this bizarre thing where, like, you know, the elapsed time in the, like, last year and a half is like 2 weeks. And I've literally watched Morgan give Carol a pep talk about not being a psycho.
Mm-hmm.
Then Carol give that pep talk to Ezekiel. Then Ezekiel give that pep talk to Carol. Around and around and around we go. And then Rick give that pep talk to Morgan right after he proves his point. That, like, no, actually, this is all just a giant world of shit. Nothing ever gets better, and all your heroes will let us down. I mean, I don't know. And, like, man, it feels like maybe fatal damage has been done to the character of Rick Grimes, which makes me feel like they are getting ready to eliminate him. Because his purpose as a character who orbits the more noble character's gravitational pull, I mean, he's just completely untethered. He's a bad guy.
I mean, the way I view it is they're setting us up for the letter from Carl, which will sway him back
basically
the other way.
says, Dad, whatever you do, don't do the things you've done in the last 4 episodes. Super cruise.
Watch that wrath, Dud. Like,
yeah.
Don't go crazy here. Yeah, that's what they're doing. I mean, they're pushing him to the extreme so that they can reel him back in, and they've done this so many times before. It loses its effectiveness.
Yeah, and there's some extremes you just can't, I don't think, necessarily come back from. I mean, I don't know. In the zombie apocalypse.
But I mean, that it seems clear to me that that's what they're doing. By the end of this episode, I think Rick has realized the problem here, because he has this talk with Morgan toward the end of the episode where he says, "Hey, why'd you save me? Why'd you save me?" And Morgan says, "It's because my son was there."
Right.
And I think that's in that moment Rick realizes, oh shit. Actually, a couple things. I think if I continue down this road, I'm going to become crazy like Morgan.
Yeah.
Because when he lost his son, this is what he transformed into.
Right.
And B, also, he can kind of keep his son with him in a weird sort of way if he
wears the hat
takes
again.
the advice. Right. Essentially, takes that hat back that he's staring at this episode.
Yeah.
And becomes Farmer Rick again. And I think that was kind of the point of the end of this episode. Now, I do kind of agree he went as far as humanly possible in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And I don't know how I'm going to feel when they do it, because honestly, it's hard to care anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah, like everything you said.
Okay.
Like I said, I again, and I get it, like, there are certainly ways you can have good characters delve into the dark side and, like, have them explore that. I just don't know that this is the way you can do it, because I mean, I guess the one bright side of this is that no one other than Morgan, who looks like he's off to a permanent spot in Crazy Town, is seen Rick's villainy.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, if anyone has, like, how would anyone ever believe him again in any situation? Like he says, like, the old man's God is his word in this world, and Rick's a liar.
Yeah.
So, and I just, like, it also, like, they made it the worst possible look, because, like, these guys were actively helping him, and they like, saved each other, and they gave each other the, like, I got this nod, you know? And then Rick just fucking hatchets him to death. It's one of the most blatant betrayals you've ever seen, and it's the good guys pulling it off.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how this, but you know, there again, they've already done fatal damage to the Rick character by killing Carl. So why not?
Yeah, and I just, man, I wish they wouldn't keep repeating themselves because I thought some of the stuff with Michonne and Rick would have been strong as well.
Yep.
If this whole idea hasn't been thrust onto every character in the show over and over again.
Yeah.
Because goddamn, those two actors can act.
Yeah, no,
Like,
they're really great.
I was really impressed by the acting in the Rick and Michonne scenes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, they're real good. There's like, if this show had not had the cast it's got, it would have been unwatchable Drek a lot sooner. Like if this were like
At least
soap
the
opera level
primaries.
stars or like your average sci-fi drama level stars, it would have been like, I'm thinking like, what if the cast of The Expanse was in The Walking Dead? Holy moly.
Oh man, if they brought Miller over, I'd be
Well,
in heaven.
okay,
I'd
sure,
love it.
sure.
Thomas
There's
Jane can
definitely some
be on
bright
The Walking
spots.
Dead any day.
Anyway, shall we get into the outline? Shall we get into the actual recap? Jadis cunningly fakes her own death. We have a flashback to the Simon-led massacre on the Heaps.
Jadis gives great dead.
Yeah,
She
no.
sure does.
Head down, ass up. That's the way she fakes her death. I thought it was great because it's one of those things that we always joke about. Like, you know, that's a bald move rule. If you're in the middle of an ongoing massacre, play dead.
Yeah.
Play dead. Like unless your single act of defiance and heroism can turn the tide and save people, fucking fake dead. And she does, and it works. And I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was just like really kind of, I mean, I don't know if it works for anybody else, but like as a person who's been espousing that theory for long, it's like, yeah, hell yeah, it did. But then what comes next is regrettable because she strips down from her grimy Romulan sub-commander uniform, revealing a pristine white slip. She then gets into a cargo container that looks like it's entirely been furnished by Flatpack's Swedish furniture. Like it's all Canadian pine, everything. It's all just monotone. It's got like I don't know how it's heated or cooled, but it's just like, I don't know, like really lavish, swanky hipster palace in the middle of this garbage thing. It's immaculate. There is no muddy footprints. There's no visible bathroom or place you can wash yourself, and yet it's all clean. The white linens are clean. Her slip is clean. I don't where does this come from?
I don't know. I mean, I guess a lot of people throw out IKEA furniture and stuff like that. Maybe she's just assembling it.
The only reason we know that we're not in a flashback at this point is because we see Negan's bat propped up against the wall. But that was a little jarring. We then see her pack up some stuff into a suitcase. She's got an old-timey camera. She's got a bunch of guns. She takes her time out to journal a little bit. Dear Diary, the last 48 hours have been amongst the worst in my life. And then she goes to Negan, who's been tied to a mechanics creeper with a bunch of braided wire. And she starts dragging him, and he demands to know, what the shit?
No, seriously.
What the shit?
What the shit?
Something that the audience of The Walking Dead asks quite frequently.
I want to know what the shit you eat long term in a junkyard. Like the Hilltop.
That you
can
hunt junkyard
plant
dogs.
crops. Like, yeah, just dog meat
Mushrooms.
every night.
Yeah.
Dog meat and fungus.
You select someone from the group to get into the chipper, and then you have hamburger helper.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's Sloppy Joe's. If it's Joe's turn to get into the machine, it's Sloppy Joe's. You could have Sloppy Mary's, Sloppy Paul's, Sloppy Jonathan's. It's, you know, the list is endless. I mean, Sloppy Aaron would feed the community for a week, easy.
Yeah,
I get it's some good eating. Hold on a sec. I got to plug in my laptop because I forgot to do that.
Oh shit.
Perpetually running out of batteries nowadays.
Yeah, me
it's
too.
almost like I've had this thing for 6 years. Okay. So next scene, we see King Ezekiel tell Carol that he thinks Henry took off after he escaped survivors, something we surmised last episode. Carol doesn't want to go on the hunt because she suspects that Henry is already dead. King Ezekiel talks a whole bunch of mess about her being a coward because she won't consider the idea that the young boy is savable. This kind of works because we know things about Carol that Zeke doesn't. For example, that this was her season 2 arc. Like waiting and hoping for a child to be alive that she probably thinks is dead, and get everything invested in that. Do you think the show would have been stronger if they had actually leaned into that? Because they make no mention of like any of the litany of children that Carol has cared for and seen died.
No, they do later on. She tells Ezekiel, "I had a child." And I don't remember the exact specifics of that conversation, but it's at least mentioned.
What I'm saying is, like, I guess this interaction here, I don't know, maybe because like I said, any serious fan of The Walking Dead has all this history embedded anyway. But you know, it's kind of like I feel like Ezekiel got a cheap shot, especially since this guy was hiding in his theater for days on end after a minor setback before. So like, again, the fuck, man, the fuck.
Yeah, and I guess that's part of it. Like Carol came and saved him essentially from being, mopey theater guy for the rest of his life. Right. Just dying there. So he's trying to do the same for her, I guess.
And she fights back a little bit. Like, look, this isn't the same thing. You fake it until you make it is not the same as trying to pretend a child's not dead. Not up a tree screaming as zombies tear him apart. But yeah, I don't know. I felt there's a little bit. Ezekiel had a lot. Thought he had the moral high ground, and he didn't. Tara informs Daryl that, hey, guess I'm not going to turn into a zombie. It's been 24 hours. I got a clean bill of health. Tara sees this as proof of Dwight's goodness. Daryl sees it as random chance or luck. And Tara says, hey, look, I've forgiven Dwight. If you're going to kill him from this part forward, it's for your own reasons. Don't make me a part of it. Which... okay, like, lots of annoying things about flip-flopping Tara, but
sure,
this is not a bad moral position to stand on.
And it's one of the more straightforward scenes ever in The Walking Dead too. They're not trying to say here's not here, or like,
you don't know what it's like out there, Tara.
Cryptic thing that means something to the writer at the moment they write it, but then means nothing when it gets to the screen.
Right.
This is just Tara saying, look, if you want to kill Dwight, I'm out. This is on you now.
Yeah. I'm not even going to pass moral judgment if you do, because, the dude's reaped.
Yeah.
And now he's going to sow, but just do it for...
And he did some nasty shit to Daryl, so if Daryl's still mad about that, fine.
Right.
But Tara's not having any part of it anymore.
Yep. It's fair. It's fair. No one's trying to manipulate anybody. It's just an honest exchange of information. Michonne reads Carl's letter to her. Rick walks in on her and says he's going to go scavenge for food. Michonne offers Rick to read her letter, which I thought was pretty generous. And then she wonders what he wrote to him. And Rick says, hey, haven't read it. Too busy. Don't have the time. Don't have the emotional bandwidth to deal with this right now.
And Michonne correctly points out that that's bullshit. You're forging ahead so you don't have to think about it and deal with it.
Yes.
And grieve.
And also that Carl wanted you to read it. That's the whole point he written, and this is the last thing he ever did. Like, how can you not engage with that?
Yeah.
And you've got to stay here. And Rick seems like he relents and gets Carl's letter out. Does he read it at this point? I don't think he reads it till the end of the episode.
Yeah, I'm with
you. So I just wanted to know.
He wasn't sure if it was his or not. It says dud on the front. And he was just like, am I a dud?
I guess I kind of
I didn't think of myself as a dud, but I guess.
All in all, I guess I have been a disappointment, And
then he realizes after he's gone and killed a whole bunch of people and lied to them. That, I am a dud. I better read it.
Right. So here, there's a part of morgalizing that I wouldn't mind. Honestly, I wouldn't mind morgalizing if it was confined within a 16-episode season arc. The problem with morgalizing is it's been the last 4 seasons.
Yes.
Okay? But this here is, I think, where the writers wanted to arrive way back when they introduced Tabitha, the cheese-making goat. And it's a damn shame we've had to wait so long because it's not a bad point. He says... he tells Carol that he's going to go out looking for them. And he explains that he thought he had to. He thought it would be different. And you don't really understand, except for everyone understands because repetition is emphasis, that he thought he was in a position where he thought he had to kill to protect people, and because of that it would be different this time. But what he's discovered is that killing people is just not compatible with his operating system, and it makes him go crazy. And Carol says he'll go with him. So, like, I mean, I would buy that there exists a type of person that, you know, killing people would really rupture their psyche and do bad things to them. I feel like that's a real life grounded thing. It's just like I'm frustrated because I don't want to engage with this material just because
it's been done so much and it's been done so sloppily and so poorly,
heavy-handed.
The really unfortunate thing is I actually really like Lenny James's acting.
I do too.
Across the board, even with this shitty material, I think he's a really good actor.
Yeah.
The problem is I don't want to watch this material.
Right.
I really don't.
Right.
I want to see Lenny James in something else, not Walking Dead related, not Fear the Walking Dead.
I feel like I watched a 6-year-old start to learn to play the violin, and then at 12 years old they're ready to play a concert, but I've heard them practice this one piece for 6 years so shitty that by the time they hit the notes I'm like, Jesus
I wish you would have done that 6 years ago.
Right. Yeah, I'm over this concerto or whatever. Yeah, that's what, because like this is a very nice, succinct way to do morgalizing, but they have been bracketing it with fire for 4 years, and it's just a fucking lunar hellscape now. There's nothing left fertile that can grow. Okay, let's keep moving on. Maggie is having a powwow, is having a military meeting with her lieutenants. She says she's worried about running low on ammo, that they can't repel an attack of similar magnitude as last time. But Daryl says, I think the Savior's got to be running low too, because, you know, why else all the bows and the knives and the hand-to-hand shit? And Rosita swears in Spanish to let you know she's got a little flavor to her, and says, hey, Eugene has been captured by them, and he's the Bullet Factory plan man, so wouldn't count all of our bullets in the chamber just yet. Or in the clip, in the magazine,
all of the above.
Yeah, in the can. Yeah. Good point. Good point, Rosita. Glad you remembered that. She also knows where she thinks they can look to find the equipment, because she was with, you know. Yeah. We know all this. We're fans of The Walking Dead. Right. We don't have to have stupid shit explained to us.
We are followers of The Walking Dead, certainly.
We were watchers of the dead, at the very least. So back at the heap, Negan tries to talk his ass out of his current predicament, which amazingly works. I don't want to spoil it for the people that are no longer watching the show, but like, I fucking can't believe that he just walks out of the junkyard at the end of this episode.
Yeah.
I've never seen a man bluff holding nothing before and have it be the winning hand. Here you go. Jadis is preparing a wood barrel full of wood and some kind of crazy salt. And she ignores him until she goads him into fake swinging on him with Lucille. I mean, she does. She like takes a massive swing and just like ends 1 inch from his nose.
Yeah, which looked fake as shit.
It did.
I don't know. I thought that was incredibly stupid.
Yeah, and also like, I mean, they've essentially been teasing this for what, 2 episodes now? Jadis picked up Negan an episode ago.
Dude, I've lost all track of time in this season.
I know.
There are things that happened 6 episodes ago that if you told me they happened 1 episode ago, I'd say, sure, yeah, that sounds right. It's
because all this shit is happening within the space of 48 hours. Yeah. Like, every time you jump around and do all this stuff, and they don't use any kind of technique to tell you what it is, but yeah.
And they leave things hanging for 6 weeks that should be addressed very quickly.
Anyway, just keep in mind that he's going to talk his way out of this, despite being chained on his back to a mechanics creeper.
Is it so? Let me ask you a question. Do you think the idea of Negan as a character is to do something very similar to what they did with Jadis? Because like in these more reserved Negan scenes, I see a very different person. And Jadis obviously is more capable than her trash person persona would have betrayed. Did they try and do like this hydraulics bouncing around, sing-songy Negan to mask? Like, is that an image that he's trying to put forward, or is that him in his I guess, bigger moments?
I
And in the
think
quieter moments, he's more like this Negan.
I think that Negan is a character that you're supposed to think is chaotic evil, like the Joker.
Yeah.
And you really you really turn out that he's lawful evil, like Darth Vader.
Right.
Whereas Rick, as a chaotic good, sometimes is going to slip into like his chaotic evil, like he kind of does in this episode, and that like I mean, who do you? Which is I historically find chaotic evil characters the most frightening. Like lawful evil, you can toe the line, keep on their good graces. If they give you your word, they'll keep it. Like it's a lot. Whereas you know, it's where a chaotic evil, who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
So I don't know how well that's working though, because like Negan sees himself as, I am the type of person that this world needs to, if humanity is going to have a chance to survive. The same way as Darth Vader, like if we want to bring order through the galaxy, I'm going to have to do these things. Like they don't have inherently evil motivations, and they do have a moral code. It's just that, you know, the end result that they do adds up to evil. So that's my take on at least a show version of his character.
Okay.
And that's the other thing is like lawful evil people I think are gettable. Like they have a moral code that you can like expose to hypocrisy and make them feel bad and make them feel remorse and make them pick up their emperor and throw him down a reactor shaft.
You're not going to do that to the Joker.
Yeah, the Joker's not. He's going. Yeah. You're never going to get that. So,
No.
And that's what I think. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, eventually, there's got to be some kind of for this gauzy vision of Carl's future to come true. Negan's gonna have a redeeming moment, and so will Rick. But damn,
What would it be?
yeah, what's that going to look like? I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know. So Carol and Morgan are out in the woods and they're tracking down turnips because even low on calories and on the run, saviors refuse to eat a turnip. Could save. I just looked it up. Do you know the average turnip has only 30 calories in it?
That's not much.
I would have to eat like 100 calories to sustain my minimum caloric requirement, and I'm not gonna.
100 turnips.
I'm not going to eat 100 turnips. Like if Mark Watney had to eat turnips rather than potatoes, it wouldn't be called The Martian. It'd be called Desiccated Skeleton on Mars. So like I get it. They're just like fuck. Every time they take a bite and they're like, fuck this fucking turnip. But they're tracking turnips. Morgan thinks he sees Henry in the woods, but it's just another delusion, saying you know what it is and you were supposed to. And he reveals that his life philosophy is, I don't die, I just witness death again and again, even when I try to look away. And yeah, there you go.
It struck me in this scene when Henry shows up, and I don't know why it didn't strike me sooner, but Henry shows up and he starts saying the same things that the Slurpee fixing guy Gavin was saying in the previous episode. And it struck me that this show does a lot of the same things that Lost did in its run, and yet Lost was so much more engaging. I think A, the writing was better, but B, they paid off so much of that stuff, you know, not right away, but there was always a mystery that they were in the process of paying off.
There was progress being made, yeah.
Yeah, and here I never feel like there's progress being made. I feel like it just keeps spinning the same wheels.
Do you know why you had that realization for Henry and not for Gavin?
No.
Because Henry is 10 times more charismatic and capable as an actor. So you
Which
finally,
is not
I get
saying
it
much.
now. I get it. Okay. Okay, it's crystallizing.
Yeah.
So Rick contemplates his daughter and his dead son. Like it's lit. Like I remember I used to say that Vince Gilligan would get a little heavy-handed, a little ham-fisted, a little bacon gauntlet-y. Shit, this episode, you literally have Rick's point of view where he pans from his daughter like cooing on the floor to the ghost of Carl wearing the hat, and like his face turns into a grim mask of resolve, and he jumps up. He goes and grabs the nearest walking impersonator and says, "Look, you son of a bitch, I don't give a shit how long you've held this uncomfortable hunk of metal up your ass. You tell me right now where your ex-compatriots might have been." He goes, "Well, there was this bar that they were thinking about turning into a proto-outpost. They might hole up there. But hey, since I've done you a solid here, don't kill any more of these fuckers than you have to.
Bring him back."
Rick's like, "Kill everybody. We'll do." Jadis keeps getting this weird alarm watch to beep like every 10 minutes that we've kind of been wondering about as we've watched this episode, if you care to wonder at all. She leaves Negan unattended long enough for him to get her gun and flare gun and photographs important to her and her luggage.
And I don't even know what the purpose is. Like, she's wheeling in...
I would love to know what this was supposed to have.
What the hell is that zombie supposed to do?
I mean, obviously she wants to get like, and I can't wait for the reaction of people that are just listening to this. She obviously wants to gain the attention of the helicopter with the flare gun.
Yes.
Why the zombies, you know, strapped to the Home Depot lumber cart at some weird 90-degree angle with a weird Mad Max sword helmet on has to do with that? I'll never know. She says, when he says, what the fuck, is this how you kill people here? She says, people are a resource. So that implies that she was going to utilize Negan's death or the zombies' unlife to do something involved with his helicopter? What?
I mean, I look at that cart and I can't think that it is a weapon.
No.
Right? It serves some other utility. But what is the utility
if
of
you
putting
design
a walker on a
something to kill a person bound to the ground, this would not look like it.
No.
No.
So it wasn't to kill Negan. It was to do something else with, and it probably involved the helicopter.
Yeah. Like, I'm trying to think, was that supposed to strap to the underside of the helicopter? Was that supposed to be... I mean, I don't know. She only had the one piece of luggage.
I mean, I guess if... like, imagine H.R. Geiger was a bellhop.
Yeah.
Because I think this is the kind of contraption he would come up with.
Yeah.
So maybe she's like packing her bags. Like, this is just junkyard bag packing.
But here's the thing. It's not like I don't know how Negan got these guns. Because they clearly...
Yeah, there's a bag there.
They clearly explain it. What I don't know is... how, with his hands tied to his waist, does he shamble over there, open the bag, and get these three vital things? Because without all three of them, he's got nothing. He's got a flare gun, a real gun, and the snaps that mean something to Jadis.
Which to me says she was...
And she was left, like, for 10 seconds.
Yeah, yeah.
So, like, I just felt like maybe we needed a cut or, like, you know... Like, I mean, I don't have a problem with Jadis leaving him here. I don't think she could have imagined that he would be able to... Seems pretty foolish to put someone on a movable cart and then leave him alone with all the tools he needs to pull one over on you. But, you know, whatever. Jadis doesn't seem like she's the smartest piece of scrap metal in the heap. But
no, my guess with the helicopter is she was planning on leaving. That it, like, they check on her every so often is what it seems, and if she sends up that flare, they land and they will take them away.
And they've hinted that the junkyard's more than just a junkyard. It's got this massive solar power installation,
has a helicopter,
a landing pad. Like, what is her connection to these much more technologically sophisticated survivors?
I think she was about to,
and she expected them. She expected them. Yeah. So, yeah, no, I totally agree. But, like, how does all this stuff fit together? Like, Negan's a valuable chip if she wanted to get back into Rick's good graces. Like, you know, there's that possibility. But, like, how did she want this plan to go? I don't know. And there's also just inartful stuff we're gonna get to next time we visit these two. Morgan and Carol find a zombie herd cutting them off for their chase, and then opposite direction on the road, a zombie shambles down the path with Henry's stick stuck up in its guts. The makeup work in the zombie is disturbing. If you've ever seen Rick and Morty, the Eye Hole Man cereal, he looks like he's got those eye holes. I don't know what that's supposed to be. Like, I swear to God, I think Nicotero just really likes season 2 of Rick and Morty and said, I'm just going to fucking do an homage.
He might have.
Carol tries to get Morgan to take the road the stick zombie came down because obviously Henry must have been up there. And Carol says, you know, I was wrong to write him off. We won't know until we actually try, and you can try. Now, here is just rock bottom moralizing.
Yeah.
This is back to the shit we've seen a million times. Morgan says, I can't. You save people. I just watch them die. Okay, fine. Whatever.
And it becomes apparent to her that he was not out here to find Henry. He's out here to kill.
But she makes a choice to let Morgan go.
Yeah.
Because she's going to follow the Henry path. A good thing for Henry.
Mm-hmm.
Jadis begs for Negan not to hurt her snaps. I'm going to call them snaps because Negan insists on calling them snaps.
Yeah.
Not to hurt her snaps. Negan reveals that his wife's name was Lucille and that he was a shitty husband to her, but she got him through life.
I don't remember the story that he told
Earlier,
Gabriel
right?
When they were in the trailer. Does that line up with that?
Yeah, I mean, he seems like he was a really shitty husband. Like, I'm not sure how abusive. Like, was it physical abuse, emotional abuse, where he just neglected and cheated on her? But he's
Probably both.
Probably, yeah. I would believe all of that stuff. And he says the bat in his apocalypse was his Lucille because it got him through a lot of stuff. And it might sound crazy, but that's the only scrap that he's got remaining of his wife. Kind of like your snaps, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And this works on Jadis. It works on Jadis.
Oh, this is not the most far-fetched thing that works on Jadis. Not yet.
In fact,
we'll get there.
In fact, so at this point, it looks like she was about to like make peace with him, but her watch beeps. And she springs into action. She pushes the walker contraption close to Negan, which he fires a bunch of bullets into the zombie, which doesn't do shit. She then wrestles him full body for the flare. Somehow the flare gets thrown into a puddle and doused. She runs off to get another one. The helicopter arrives and hovers over this scene for like 10 seconds. Then it starts to peel off as she comes back with the lit flare. And then she threatens Lucille, who is now in this burn pile with this salt, which I presume the salt is like one of those fancy things that changes the color of fire. Have you ever gotten one of those packages?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. No, I haven't.
There's the different salts that have a chemical reaction that changes the fire, like blue, purple, green. She was wanting a big green signal fire or some shit. They don't explain this.
They don't explain it at all, no.
Yeah. Or maybe she's just burning salt. I don't even know what that looks like, or if that works, or if that's going to be some kind of MacGyver explosion. I don't know. But she threatens Lucille with it, and Negan, high speed, promises that he will fix this. How? Like, killing Simon will not fix any of this shit.
Sure, yeah, you can't, as Morgan would say, you can't fix the dead, Carol.
That's right.
Or whatever he says.
Yeah.
But the biggest lie in this episode is not perpetrated by Rick. It's perpetrated by Negan. And it's not about him fixing the death of all her companions. It's about not wanting to burn her snaps. Because he says, like, I didn't do it. Yeah. I didn't do it. I could have, but I didn't.
Yeah, I could have burnt your snaps.
And it's not because you had, out of the goodness of your heart, you changed your mind and decided not to burn them. It's because she grabbed your fucking hand and shoved the thing away.
Right. Yeah.
There was no altruism in there.
And
Get
let
fucked,
me tell
man.
you, I cannot like, I've seen some clumsy ass stunt work this season. But you've not lived until you've seen Jadis struggle to get the better of a Negan who is fully tied down to a mechanics creeper. He can move his head and he can move his hands at the elbow.
Yeah.
And how she can't just instantly get the better of him. I mean, once she closes the distance and he, like, you know, shoots his wad as far as the gun. Like, I don't know. I don't know. You could have even grabbed his hand and waved it around, make him do the signal.
Yeah.
Quit signaling yourself. Quit signaling yourself. And he couldn't do shit to you.
Right.
Anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. The whole scene is kind of
absurd. I thought for sure he's going to figure out a way to get free. And then there'd be an honest to God fracas.
Yeah.
But there was no fracas.
No.
I don't know. I think it seems pretty silly. Anyway, Morgan finds Rick, and he's already feral fucking crazy. Like, he fully approaches Rick in his combat pose with the stick, and Rick's like, yo, Morgan, you gotta remember me. You remember me, right? Like, we literally met in the first episode of this fucking season. I know it's been 8 years, but Jesus Christ. And he finally snaps out of it. He says, hey, Rick, I'm not right. And Rick's like, yeah, cool. Me neither. Let's go have a murder party. And they immediately get ambushed by a pack of largely unarmed saviors. There's only one guy in their whole fucking posse that's got a gun. It's Rat-Faced Jesus. And both of these guys, where did these guys come? They're in the fucking middle of the woods.
Yeah, I don't know.
Where does a half dozen people unarmed to come up and sneak up behind you and take you both?
I don't know.
Like, I don't even think they knocked.
Mean, that's the hallmark of this show, right?
How do you subdue a man like Morgan? Without knocking him out, because Morgan apparently was not unconscious. Is not unconscious. I don't understand.
Overwhelm him, I guess, but
I don't understand any of this stuff. It doesn't make sense. Jim.
No, yeah, this show doesn't make sense.
So saviors are back at this dive bar that they've turned into a proto outpost, and they're arguing about who lives and who dies. There's a bunch of moaning pale dudes on the ground where they've cut off their legs and arms to try to save them, but now they don't want to drag their ass. And apparently the saviors have a policy where if you pooch it, then you get left behind. It's like the opposite of the U.S. Armed Forces. Every man gets left behind if they stub their toe or have a blister or whatever. Rick, so there's this interesting. I do like Rat-Faced Jesus' opinion that, hey, we wiped our own asses on this one, and the big man is going to recognize. That's actually makes a lot of sense. Like, as bad as you've pooched it, if you bring back Rick the Prick, Negan will absolutely forgive you.
Yeah.
That tracks. It's great. Rick then makes a bid by saying, hey, 2 things you need to know. Number 1, you're all welcome back to Hilltop. Y'all made the wrong choice, but that's cool. And also, 2, there's a herd coming, so you don't have time to debate this in committee.
He makes sure to give them his word.
And the other thing, like,
safe.
I never thought I'd love Rat-Faced Jesus, but at the end of Rick's speech, he literally says, "Is this for real? Are you assholes actually buying what he's saying?" And I'm like, yes, this is ridiculous. And I hate that they made Rat-Faced Jesus right. Like, this guy, like, I remember when I first saw him, I was like, I want to see this guy die screaming, and I'm going to feel so good about it, and they fucking robbed me of that. Because Rat-Faced Jesus was right about Rick at the end.
I mean, he still got his.
He still got his, and that was pretty cool.
In spectacular fashion.
And Morgan lays some...
cold-ass Morgan.
And some cold fucking
Dude, I
shit.
love his description here.
Dude,
I love it.
This is the stuff from Walking Dead where it's a much better show. Like, Lenny James, fantastic actor. He's essentially quoting Jules from Pulp Fiction, saying, you know, hey... whatever this crazy white boy's saying, I came to kill all you all. And the only damn shame is what did he say? He's like, there's a herd coming. And
loose skin, teeth, and blood. Just the parts they didn't eat.
And there won't be
a single one of you left for me to kill.
Right. And that'll be then the damn shame of it. There won't be a single one of you left for me to kill.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, it is. And he's like, and he starts screaming, everyone turns, and then the herd comes. Rat-Faced Jesus instantly takes off. Some of the reasonable saviors, I think all of them except for Rat-Faced Jesus, turn and help Rick and Morgan, and they actually help Rick and Morgan. One of the saviors unquestionably saves Rick's life.
Yeah.
That's when Rick and him have that moment like, hey, thanks, you're all right.
And then he immediately says, why don't you go on ahead?
I just don't buy that Rick would do this in this situation. I just don't. Like, this is a fundamental betrayal of his character. Like, if he could be, I think they should have not had the savior save him. Because once he did that and he acknowledged that man's humanity, I don't believe that Rick Grimes could kill. Like, this isn't the second after Rick or Carl died.
Right.
This is cold blood. This is premeditated murder.
It is. Yeah. Absolutely.
I don't like it. I don't like it. I think it's something that a heroic character can't come back from.
All right. That's a fair opinion.
Morgan tracks down Rat-Faced Jesus, and after a brief scuffle, he dies screaming horribly. How would you describe his death? It was a pretty good death.
It was pathetic.
Yeah.
He's trapped behind a fence. Morgan has him by the collar. Yeah. And Rat-Faced Jesus is screaming, let me go, let me go.
So it's like one of those like wrought iron bar fences or whatever.
Yeah.
And Morgan's got his shirt held tight so his like back is to the zombies.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Like I really love this death. And just how cold Morgan is. He's staring him right in the eyes. He's got him by the collar. He won't let go. And the guy's screaming, let go, as he's being eaten. He's finally eaten to the point where he's not coming back.
His face is getting torn off. They're ripping off bacon right from his back.
And then Morgan kind of he's like, all right,
yeah,
I'm done. And he lets go.
Let's go.
It's awesome.
Yeah, no, this
is the best version of Morgan, in my opinion.
This is, again, some of these scenes were from a hypothetical, much better version of the show.
Yeah.
And this was one of them. One final savior dies, and this is where it just gets over the top for me. Dies literally quoting Carl's thesis about, but we could have lived. We could have lived in the after. Oh, Jesus. And Rick just blows his head off with this python. Morgan whispers that everybody turns as he brushes past Rick. Rick tries to then hilariously talk sense into Morgan after proving everything that Morgan fears.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And Morgan says, the only reason I was a reasonable man when he first met me is because my son was still alive. And then Rick turns to a fractured mirror and looks at his broken reflection and says, oh, shit, this is me. And this is the most baconingly gauntlet-y thing that I've ever fucking seen.
And it's not the first time they've done it with that character.
And again, I'm thinking in a world where the Morgalizing plot was a tight 16-episode arc, this is a really fucking good way to cap it.
Okay.
But they've ran it into the ground, patched it up, got it flying, ran it into the side of a mountain, and then ate each other. All the soccer players ate each other, and this is all that's left of that plot. So it's the bloody tatters and skin and teeth and bone. Negan is now freed. He's got his Negan costume back on, and he's having a powwow with Jadis. They're playing some really interesting Southern fried cosmic rock kind of, I don't know, atmospheric music in the background, which I thought was kind of cool. Negan offers her a place by his side, and she says, no, I know you're just going to wife me, and I'm going to be in one of those fucking black cocktail dresses, drinking a Merlot in a desperate attempt to numb the pain until I die. No, thank you, sir. And then Negan leaves. All right. So Negan walks out. No harm, no foul from the trash heap.
Promising to make it all right.
Yep. Didn't get stripped naked. Didn't get thrown into a Mad Max zombie. Like, got off pretty easy, all things concerned, I would think. Carol finds Henry stuck up a tree, screaming. And by the way, this Negan shit's happening during the daytime, and this Carl shit is happening, or Carol shit's happening at night.
Yeah, I don't know what.
They keep going back, and as it keeps going back, like, is this all one continuous thing? Is this a flashback? Or, like, is the Negan shit happening last episode, and all this other stuff is happening this episode?
I think they're trying to take a card from Game of Thrones and just say, timeline doesn't matter.
I guess.
With all of these things are happening at different times, but you kind of need some of them to happen.
That works when every time cut conceivably days would pass, but they're making it they're making it sure that you know that this is all happening in like the same 48-hour period.
Right.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know how you can stay tethered in this kind of timeline. But Carol finds Henry at the stroke of midnight, stuck up a tree screaming, which I appreciated. This is like a lot of callbacks to what she said Cookie Boy was going to have happen to him. It's her worst fear about, you know, Sophia, what happened to her. She saves them, and they had this tearful reunion where she tells him, I was wrong. You are a survivor. I was wrong. And I'm like, it's one thing to be super glad this kid didn't die, but holy shit, someone needs to take him out behind the woodshed and beat his ass. Because this, he caused all of this.
He did, yeah.
None of the saviors would be dead. Who knows how many of the Hilltop people would still be alive. Morgan might not have slipped down into final stage Morgalizing. He might not have gone off to Fear the Walking Dead if Henry just goes to fucking bed. Although he might have gotten his ass eat up because...
That'd be fine. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, we don't need Henry. We need Henry in the show. Did you know that that's Madison Lintz? You know that she's the woman that played Sophia? Grown woman now.
That's her?
That's her brother, her younger brother that plays Henry.
Ah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. It's a family enterprise now. They're gonna be autographed booths across the lane from each other. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's the right lesson you teach this kid. I don't know how, because like this is not the last step in his education. Do you think they're trying to make Henry to be a surrogate for like Carl? Like it's gonna be like the show's gonna be about the battle for his soul.
I mean, look, I know a lot of people didn't like Chandler Riggs acting. I know a lot of people thought he was stiff or whatever.
He's a kid. It's hard to be.
He's a kid.
It's hard to be that good that young.
But whatever Chandler Riggs didn't have in his acting, this kid has twice of it, in my opinion. I don't like the
so whatever he didn't have, he has twice as much.
He has twice as much, yeah.
Yeah. Inexperience.
Yeah, all of it. I don't like the kid's acting, and maybe it's not his fault. I don't know.
No,
We've talked about this exhaustively in previous seasons, but it's just not doing it for me.
Right. Yep. I mean, it's like anytime you have a child actor that's performing poorly on the screen, that is the director and the writers and the casting people ultimately his fault.
Right.
You know, because he's just super cool. He's just super excited to be on this awesome, highly rated AMC zombie show.
Yep. He's
the adults in the
probably-
room that are not giving a shit.
Probably nervous as hell. Like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I feel for him, but it's not doing it for me.
And the stuff they're asking him to do is patently ridiculous. Like,
Well, there's that.
he's trying to be this ultra macho badass, and now he's up a tree screaming, and he's gonna like have exchange furious shoulder rubs with Lenny James here in a minute. It's all a shit show.
He's gonna play the game of My Two Dads. Are we at that scene right now?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. Carol and Henry return back to the hilltop to a hero's welcome. Jerry and Zeke are particularly overjoyed. King Ezekiel and Carol have a fireside chat about Carol finding herself and her fear that her sanity could be swept away. But now she's realized that that's not only not inevitable, but even if it is, she knows the way she can find herself again, which I think, again, if this was a nice 16-episode arc, this is a great way to end things, because that is a key. Like, if you're a survivor of some kind of trauma or some kind of, like, you know, even if it's you know, clinical depression or some kind of emotional instability or just a bad stretch of life, the fact that you are okay because you're already okay is a powerful thing. Like, once you survive that once, it becomes easier and easier because it's a touchstone. Like, I've been through this, it's familiar, I can get myself out of it, and I can better avoid the things that trigger this in the future. That's a great lesson to be taught in The Walking Dead. They just really walked a mud hole through this plot territory.
Yeah.
Like, if this was a pristine march down a nice grassy field, it's fine. But it looks like, you know, you've played 100 games of fucking football and rugby on it. It's just it's bad. It's well-worn territory. Compare and contrast this to Morgan and Rick returning, just soaked in blood. Morgan comes up to Henry, claps his hand on his shoulder, and says, "I got your brother's killer." Henry claps his hand on Morgan's shoulder and says, "I'm sorry." Morgan brushes him off and claps his other hand on Henry's other shoulder and says, "Don't you ever be sorry." And they have a frantic shoulder squeeze off.
Ezekiel comes over and grabs by the other shoulder and says, "You're a good kid. Don't listen to your other dad." Like, this kid is going to be fucked up beyond recognition when he's in his teens, because he's being given mixed messages from every side. Like, you got Morgan on the one hand saying, we need to kill everybody and you need to be strong and I'm going to help you with that. And he's got Ezekiel saying, no, you need to be a kid and we will take care of you and you shouldn't kill. And then Carol's telling him other things about her own life. He's going to be so fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, like, children of the zombie apocalypse probably will be sociopaths. You know, what else? What else are you going to learn from this world?
It's not an easy life.
Jadis lies down after a hard day of doing fucking nothing, getting nothing accomplished of value. She lays down in her IKEA container and ponders her flat-packed life.
I think she's waiting for the next helicopter arrival. Just like,
I mean, in that case, no big deal. Like, she lost
Right.
whatever utility Negan and the 90-degree zombie contraption had, but otherwise,
a little bit of time.
A little bit of time. She's got plenty of that. Negan then sees she's driving in this shitty little hatchback. He sees someone at the side of the road. This is the most Walking Dead thing ever. For some fucking reason, they decide that it's interesting to hide the identity of the person.
But we know who it is. We know it's the woman who escaped when Dwight turned on them. Yeah,
it's probably Barcode.
I mean, it's so fucking obvious because Negan rolls up to the gates and he says, "I have a whole bunch of stories to unfold."
Yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah,
he's gonna go after Simon and he's gonna go after Dwight. There's no question here.
Yeah. Which, honestly,
the only other person it could be is Heath, but Heath is never coming back.
Someone said it could be Dwight's wife, Sherry, because she had some information that's probably dated about who helped some doctor escape or who helped.
It's a problem that you don't remember, and we do a podcast about this show.
Right.
And it's not a problem for the podcast, it's a problem for the television show.
Right, right. But no, I don't understand what they think the cliffhanger is when you reveal the danger.
Yeah.
And people wonder how are they going to get...
And how it changes the game.
It's so weird. It's like if the old Batman show had stopped right before Batman got into the fiendish contraption and they started like, how will Batman escape? He's just outside the henchman's door at a long corridor. How will Batman escape this hallway? Tune in next Bat Time, same Bat... Like, fuck you. What am I supposed to get worked up about?
Yeah.
Henry saw someone on the road. There's only like a handful of people it could possibly be. And when you take it, it's like, what are they playing at? Why do they think this is cool?
No, I mean, and they do it again at the end of the episode.
I mean, they got us talking about it, engaging in the mystery. There's a fucking Forbes article written about it. Yeah.
What is
Why is Forbes covering this? I don't know.
Yeah, Forbes does TV. That's odd.
They do a lot of they have like really premium video game coverage too. Like yeah, Forbes is pivoting.
Okay, good for you,
Forbes is trying to pivot.
Yeah, come down here with the rest of us in the cesspool of
Forbes didn't get on the
fandom.
500 list by not pivoting, by
That's
just
true.
letting themselves get old and not following the money. They're like, did you see this guy making $100 million a month on Twitch? Let's get on that shit. Let's get on that shit.
That's our entire operating budget.
Right. What are we doing? Like we got let's start catering to rich young people instead of rich old people. What do they like? Video games and Walking Dead. Let's get on it. Yeah, who could it be? Negan pulls up to the gates of the Savior Complex where all the Saviors are like really happy to see him, and he says, hey, keep it on the down low because Daddy's home and I want it to be a surprise. So yeah, obviously bad news for Simon and Dwight. The thing is I'm not really sure. It feels like they're trying to go for the least interesting possibility. Like having both of the turncoats be exposed simultaneously. Hold on a second. I think we're having a delivery.
Delivery?
Hey,
Speedy delivery? Hey.
We got time for something?
Oh, no.
Oh,
No, okay.
Sorry.
Cool.
All right, thanks. Appreciate
Thanks.
it.
All right. Least interesting possibility.
At least, yeah, is for the mail guy to just deliver our mail.
That's
That's time for package. Didn't have
Yeah.
It's just the new guy that he wanted to make sure we got our mail. You know,
All right.
It doesn't kick it under the door like everybody else does.
Appreciate it.
Season 9 on Watching Dead. Got to turn that. It's Heath. See, we didn't even show the mailman. Like this is
Yeah.
the biggest. This is the big like.
Was it the mailman?
Yeah.
We said it was the mailman. Maybe
Yeah.
we're lying.
Yeah, maybe he dropped us off a big package that's ticking and smoking. You don't know. It's off camera. Have to tune in next week, won't you? So what the fuck? Oh yes. Is it just me, or does it feel like The Walking Dead stumbled upon the least interesting possibility, where Negan conveniently discovers both turncoats in his midst?
I mean, maybe
There's no like he knows about Dwight but not Simon. He knows about Simon but not Dwight. Does he know about Dwight but Simon vouches for him because Simon thinks Dwight's on his side? Like all that's out the window. It's just these two guys on an
That's
island against Negan.
100% true, but I think the one thing they did stumble upon was the quickest to resolve possibility, which I'm okay with. Like
Yeah.
if they're not going to drag it out,
Right.
I'm kind of okay if it's less interesting.
Right. Okay, so Rosita, Daryl, and presumably Shitty Bow Girl are observing the bullet factory. We can see it's in full swing. They're loading hundreds of empty casings for fucking Dwight to pack full of Eugene. Sorry, got my characters mixed up. For Eugene to pack full of gunpowdery goodness. Daryl says that we move on him now, and Rosita says we don't take out the machines, we take out the man, which I'm fine with.
Yes.
Eugene, speaking of guys who I don't see there's a meaningful way for them to be redeemed, like, yeah, nah,
So here's
his
the
jean
complication.
shorts don't bring enough to the table.
No. What about in combination with the mullet?
That's
Still not.
that's like, it's like a guy coming to my table and he takes my knife and spoon. He's not even bringing things. He's stealing silverware from my table.
Okay.
Like it's fine. You show up in jean shorts. The mullet, you're actively taking shit from my table, Eugene. You're not bringing anything. You're taking shit. Stop it.
Here's the complication
Uh-huh.
that Rosita and Daryl cannot possibly see coming. It's Gabriel. We know Gabriel's in that building, yeah? And they don't show him.
Is in that building, and they do not show him. That is
So,
all true.
and Gabriel's blind, so I don't know what wrinkle that adds, but there's some information that our team does not possess here, which I think is going to complicate things. It's not going to be as straightforward as we have to kill Eugene.
Right.
Problem solved.
And then they get to kill Father Gabriel because last we knew he was a shitbag too. I don't mean like the thing is like you can put all these characters save Daryl into this room. Like you can take Shitty Bow Girl, you can take Rosita, you can take Eugene, you can take Father Gabriel, and you can take, crew cut, mean savior lady standing guard, shove him into this factory and blow it up, and I don't give a shit.
Sure.
And honestly, you put Daryl in there and I say it's a fair trade.
Yeah.
Like at this point, because when's the last time I've actually really no shit Daryl dies I riot kind of like felt about Daryl? It's been a minute, so I don't know. We'll see where this goes. Rick has had a shower. He's still a shave and a sandwich away, and maybe a shit from like being some kind of whole man at this point. He says to Michonne that he's sorry. She says you don't have to be, which I don't know, lady. I don't know. This is little Anakin murdering the Sand People.
You need to be
the
sorry
women and the
about
children too. He says he loves her and they kiss. Then Rick sits down to read his son's last letter, which is a very crucial, important thing. That's probably going to say, "Dear Dad, don't do any of the things that you have been doing for the last 3 or 4 episodes to honor my memory." But we won't know for sure because the episode ends on yet another cliffhanger of something that we strongly suspect but don't know.
Yeah.
And that's the episode for the week.
I don't even know what to say about the cliffhangers in this show anymore. They're the cheapest possible way to try and get people to watch the next week's episode.
Have they ever considered ending on a satisfying? Yeah, have they ever considered ending on a satisfyingly emotional beat?
I don't think so.
Like Rick, like us reading Carl's words at the same time, and
right.
We're genuinely moved, and Rick is devastated. That's not a cliffhanger, but you know what it is? A satisfying conclusion to a goddamn episode.
Right, which in my mind asks me more fervently to come back next week than just simply finding out what's written on this piece of paper.
Right, and who's riding with Negan.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the episode though.
Okay.
I presume we have an email of the week, or is that just dried up?
No, we still have emails coming in. Okay. Which I appreciate. So send them to, what is it, walkingdead@baldmove.com?
Or Watching Dead. Make it easy. Make it remarkably easy for you to contact us, and then remarkably hard to actually get read on the
it's a lottery
on
at this
the podcast.
Point.
Yes.
Like, I mean, unless you are, I don't know, Patrick Rothstein. Unless you're Patrick Rothstein or James Corey, and you're writing in and saying, I've got a novel that I've written, which I might actually read, just a straight novel. Like if you have a 500-page dissertation on The Walking Dead, at this point, I might read it as feedback.
Okay.
If it's good enough.
Yeah.
But for the most part,
I will take the week off and just read it.
The shortest one with the most interesting question. And sometimes the funniest, but this is not one. This is just something to think about. Jeremy R.
You are not funny.
You're not funny, but you did write in a good question. So let's consider it.
You're a very serious man. We will consider it.
He says, so we have this developing arc here where Negan is turning into a quote-unquote good guy on a new path while Rick is simultaneously turning quote-unquote bad. While I feel like this had the potential to be interesting, it has completely been ruined by all the show's weaknesses up to this point. If they could have just trimmed the fat and done this in a solid 8-episode time frame, perhaps we would be much more invested. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, I've been screaming that a whole episode. Like, they even do some really neat stuff, like the fact that Rick starts off in his grimy kind of Rick uniform and gets progressively dirtier and dirtier and coated in blood, and then he emerges clean with a white t-shirt, whereas Negan starts strapped to the gurney with the white t-shirt and, you know, has layers of his shit blasted off by this emotionally searing confrontation with Jadis, which it isn't really, but fine. And then he puts his Negan costume back on. Like, that is how you visually tell the story of one player ascendant and in decline, and one player that is, and one character who is at a low point and who is ascending. But they don't do any of the actual mechanical things to shift those players incrementally to places they need to go. It's just presented as, here is an inexplicable experience that Negan had with a mortal foe.
Yeah.
And here is an inexplicable thing Rick had with potential allies. And they just do the things they do, and they hit the beats they need to hit, and the show grinds on.
Yeah, and kind of to add to his, you know, good and bad crossing of arcs here, I think there's also this idea of these two people having plans or not having plans sort of crossing, because Negan didn't look like he really had much of a plan to begin with. He was just a maniac out there killing people and taking their stuff.
Right.
Rick always seemed like he had this idea for what Alexandria could be, and they were on that path along with Deanna and Maggie.
Right.
Rick at this point has zero plan, in my opinion. He is not working toward any kind of goal. He is just out there doing the things that his whims lead him to.
He's lashing out.
Yeah. Whereas Negan, you can see, actually does have a rhyme or reason to what he's doing, right? He sees people as a resource. He's using them as such. He, kills one person to make a point. Those kinds of things where, they seem to just be taking opposite trajectories in both of those
But
regards.
the other thing, the other layer of absurdity that we haven't quite unraveled is the fact that, yes, this is all true, but Negan's plan is fundamentally stupid and not working, as Simon has pointed out pretty eloquently. Like, that would be a great point, except for Negan is just as out of touch and ineffective as Rick is.
I think
so,
Negan has an interesting plan, but he has not taken... I guess he has not taken into consideration what to do when someone will not be cowed.
Yeah, like what is the step you take after you take the first retaliatory? When you make your point and you make it again, then what? And he doesn't have an answer for that. So there's where the mechanics of the show don't really buttress the things they're trying to do, because that would be a great point, but they've just undermined the whole maybe Negan's got things figured out with the Dwight and Simon plot from 2 or 3 episodes ago.
Yeah,
which essentially shows that Negan has lost his confidence among a lot of his right hand men. They introduced the fact that Simon, you got to have a right hand man in this world. That was an arc that Negan was started 3 seasons ago. And he now has no right-hand men. That should be a position where he's at his most vulnerable and most threatened. But the show's trying to tell a story of Negan getting his mojo back.
Yeah.
So I don't buy it. But if it works, then they fucked up their own arc that they set Negan to be on. So I don't know. Here's the other thing. In my wildest imagination, I would not think that they would stretch All Out War 2 whole seasons, but there's only 2 episodes left, and this doesn't seem like it's anywhere near concluding. I cannot fucking believe it. If you don't believe me, go back and listen to a preview podcast for season 7. I'm like, well, if they're smart, they'll introduce this, and we'll have a whole half season set up, and then All Out War will be a half season, and it'll be awesome. All Out War is going to have lasted 16 plus 8. 24 episodes. That's literally more television episodes than All Out War took to tell in the goddamn comic books. And a comic book is roughly 3 to 4 minutes of screen time, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Your average comic book, at most, is an episode. At minimum, I mean, it's insane how much they've stretched this out. And that's why it feels flaccid and not exciting, and it's on a treadmill, and how it's just always teasing you with cool things and very rarely, pleasing you. So
Jeremy R. concludes, I feel like we are ultimately being force-fed this inevitable climax where Rick's mercy prevails over his wrath. Like I said, I just can't shake the feeling that there was so much wasted potential for this particular arc. But hey, at least Rat-Face Jesus is dead.
Yeah,
I do agree with that.
But that's another great point, because why have they been teasing this mercy has overcome my wrath the whole time? Why tease the gauzy Vaseline smeared a preview of Carl's future? None of that shit should have happened, because the fact that we know it's going towards that, it's why? I mean, you're setting this elaborate character arc, but then you give it all away at the very beginning.
I mean, I guess I'm do we know it's going toward that? Because this was Carl's vision of a future that could exist, in my mind.
We've seen Rick with the red-rimmed eyes holding his hurt belly underneath the tree with the stained glass windows for a season and a half now, and saying, my mercy overcomes my wrath. I just I don't understand why you tease any of that. If it's supposed to be a mystery, and if we're supposed to be kind of watching, rapt, and paying attention, why give away any of that stuff?
Yeah.
But I don't know. So so I don't know. I never know when I'm going too far in my criticisms, because clearly I'm over this show, and it's that thing where there's nothing I don't know. It'd have to be 2 seasons of excellence before I would start letting my guard down.
Yeah. That's the biggest problem with this thing, is for so long it's been driven off the rails.
Yeah.
to get it back on the rails would
Yeah.
require an immense effort over a prolonged period of time, and I'm just not going to stick around that long.
Yeah, and I mean, it's
I don't think anyone is.
and it's like I get that way with shows, like, you know, like for example, I like Marvel stuff. I like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm still not burnt out on it. I might be the last person that isn't, but you know what I am burnt out on? Marvel stuff on Netflix.
Yeah.
Like, I have watched almost everything except for like half the Iron Fist. I started watching Jessica Jones, and I'm like,
the new season.
the new season, I'm like at 6, going on 7 episodes. I'm just like, it's the same. It's 13 episodes, and it should maybe be 8. And like, there's some stuff they're doing better, but it's just not good enough. And I mean, maybe I'll watch Daredevil, but I didn't like the last season of Daredevil I saw. Like, I would have stopped watching this show if I was just a civilian 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
I just, you know, like I absolutely know that the Glenn dumpster fire would have been like, you know what, fuck this, I'm out. There's nothing. So like, I don't know. It's a weird situation to be in. Yeah, but I also like, this was the lowest rated episode of Walking Dead, I think, in Walking Dead history.
Oh Christ, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it like struggled to get 6.3.
Yeah.
So like 2/3 of the audience is left, man. Like, it's not, and it's the funny thing is, like, watching r/The Walking Dead debate that, like, oh well, you know,
It's still the number one prime time. Like,
it's still the number one prime time, and also everyone
yeah.
watches on DVR. They watch on Amazon to do this. I'm like, look. I get it. You don't want to hear bad news, but all that stuff was true 2-3 years ago too.
Right. This measurement that Nielsen does
Yeah.
is representative of the audience as a whole.
Right.
And if that number goes down by 2/3, then the rest
and
of it has also.
Yeah, it's apples to apples. Like, are you telling me that 2/3 of the people that were watching this on cable have cut their cords and are watching on Amazon months after the fact now? Is that what you're
or
really
have switched
saying?
to torrents and are all pirating.
You're really
it
saying
now
that
instead
12
of-
million people have
Yeah.
in unison done this
Right.
at the same time that the show has declined further in quality? But then they won't even admit that the show continues to decline. Hell, the show has gotten better in recent weeks. So I don't know.
It's not hard when you
It's
start
not
from
for
the
me.
bottom.
It's not for me. It's not for me.
Yeah.
So that's the show. We got 2 more episodes.
Yeah.
I have no idea what they're going to do. At this point, I would be shocked. I'd bet serious money that they're not going to finish All Out War this season.
Here's what I want.
Okay.
I want Dwight, Simon, Eugene, Gabriel, Rosita,
Shitty Bow Girl.
and Shitty Bow Girl all to die
Okay.
in the next 2 episodes.
Okay. Did you throw Daryl in there?
No.
Okay. I mean,
I don't
think
really
that's-
want Daryl to die, but I don't care that much if he dies. But I want all those other people to die.
But what would be the impact of that?
They would all be dead, and I wouldn't have to think of them as characters
True.
anymore.
And then
There's
and
a
then
very personal
also,
impact on my
also,
life.
Heath walks in the door
And
into
gets
the bullet
shot,
factory.
yeah.
Says, "Hey guys, I've been gone for," and he dies too.
And they use all 6,000 bullets that Eugene has made.
Sherry's wife
just
says,
lighting
"Hey,
them all
I
up."
heard gunfire and I came to see." She's shot too.
Right. Henry walks in the door.
Henry walks in the door. It's like, I've decided I'm a killer again. He gets killed by like just a bandolier full of broomsticks. Shot out of a cannon. Yeah. Morgan shambles off to Fear the Walking Dead. Yeah, we've trimmed the cast down to
Streamline the
something
show.
manageable. Turns out that Carl's been hiding under dumpsters and made a miraculous, whatever immunity to shitty stuff that Tara's got, he's got it too. All right, now, see, that's what Guy Ferrari would do.
He would absolutely do that.
He would absolutely just fucking turn back. He'd just like, you know what? Some
And
of this
then
continuity is shitty. I'm getting rid of it.
And then you've got the ridiculous show that Walking Dead needs to be.
Yeah. Or
And you
just
just follow that road wherever it leads you.
right now, I would have so much charity if the show did like a Dallas style. It was the last 3 seasons are all a dream. Like, I would be like, you know what? Fine. Yes, I will reinvest. If like Vince Gilligan was going to be the Guy Ferrari and like, you know what? I'm going to begin this thing at the end of All Out War, and we're going to pretend like it all went down like the comic books did. Yeah, but it takes something like that.
Yeah.
We need a new reason to be hopeful. It'd be, and then you need a big shake up at AMC Studios. Like, heads should roll there. Yeah. All right, that's it. I think that's the episode. If you'd
Yep.
like to send us feedback, like Jeremy here, a very serious man, who's not funny at all,
No.
known far and wide on the internet for not being funny and not
But he does.
sending funny
He does
emails.
ask good questions.
He
though.
does ask very good questions. He's a good listener. If you'd like to be like him, you can send email to watchingdead@baldmove.com. You can also follow along with our band of survivors in the forums.baldmove.com. Follow along on all the social media sites, slash or at Facebook. That's where we make our home. At or slash baldmove. Until next week, we'll be back for another live watch. We'll be back for another podcast. All that stuff. Also, if you want to try a better science fiction show,
Oh yeah.
The Expanse is coming back. We got a preview podcast dropping probably tomorrow. This week for sure. It starts next Wednesday. The first 2 seasons are available if you're an Amazon Prime customer, streaming free on Amazon. It's a great science fiction show with lots of moral quandaries and complex plots and very competently done action and special effects. Highly recommend it. And 2 weeks after that, Westworld's coming back. If you're done with Walking Dead and you want to watch something probably truly excellent, that's coming to the Bald Move Network. But yeah, we'll be back for next week with Walking Dead too. Until then, I'm Aaron.
I'm Jim.
See ya.